Today we're gonna do some burning, but in Simic? So here is our ultra budget $30 one tick 16 rare Simic Burn deck, and this is one of my all-time favorite budget Magic decks. This deck is so sweet, although I will say the deck's really hard to describe without seeing it in action, so I'm going to try to keep this deck super short and then just go to the gameplay, and once you see it go off, you'll kind of understand what it's doing. So our deck is all about trying to ramp up to at least 11 mana, which sounds like a lot, but every single non-land card in our deck can add extra lands to the battlefield, so it's actually pretty easy to get up to 11 mana. Also worth pointing out that some of our ramp spells get deserts, which is really important to our plan. We do have a couple of big creatures in our deck, and you might be thinking, okay, there's the win con, but no, not really. Like, rarely will we win with a Colossal Rattlworm or Bonnie Paul. Really, these are more ramp spells, but they're ramp spells that add big bodies to the battlefield, so we can block our opponent's stuff and stay alive while we're ramping up to 11 mana. Then we have our mana base, and it's a desert mana base, and the deserts are really key to our plan. So these deserts do three things. First, Arid Archway is a bounce land, lets us pick up one of our other lands, which is actually kind of important because it lets us reuse our desert ETB triggers. Second, Arid Archway and Conduit Pylons let us surveil. The surveilling is really important to our combo turns because it lets us dig through our deck to try to find our missing combo pieces. And then finally, our real win con are the ETB deal a damage crime deserts like Lush Oasis. And in the end, we're eventually going to deal more than 20 damage to our opponent just with these lands. That's our Simic Burn plan. So what is the actual combo of this deck? So what we're trying to do is get a Splunking on the battlefield, which lets our lands ETB untapped, and then Doppelgang at least X equal 3. That's why 11 mana is so important, because what we want to do with this deck, the most common Doppelgang pile is Doppelgang targeting Splunking, Arid Archway, and Lush Oasis. So this is going to give us 3 copies of each of those things, and we can stack our triggers. So Lush Oasis resolves first, deals 3 damage to our opponents as a ETB. Arid Archway resolves second, so we're going to bounce 3 of our lands back to our hand. Hopefully they're deserts, so we surveil 3 times to dig for another Doppelgang. And then Splunking or Resolve to draw us cards and let us put the lands that we bounced with Arid Archway right back into play. So if you actually think through what this does, is it's going to let us surveil maybe 6 times-ish to look for another Doppelgang. Hopefully we draw the second Doppelgang off the Splunking trigger. And then we're going to get more mana of untapped lands than we spend on Doppelgang. We're going to have 3 new Arid Archways, which make 6 mana, 3 new Lush Oases that make 3 more mana, so it's 9 mana, plus then we get to pick up tap lands with the Archways and put them back into play untapped with the Splunking, so we get up to 12 mana. So as we surveil, we'll draw another Doppelgang, and now we cast an even bigger Doppelgang, and eventually we're just going to cast a Doppelgang, targeting 4 or 5 of the crime lands to get 4 or 5 copies of all of them and deal like 25-ish damage directly to our opponent's face, burning our opponent out of the game with the deserts. And I know this probably sounds like pie in the sky, it's not really going to happen, but watch the gameplay and you'll see it actually works. In the sideboard, a bunch of counters for control, the best removal and life gain we could muster for aggro, some graveyard hate, and that is Simic Burn for Outlaws of Thunder Junction Standard. That's our budget Magic deck for today. I'm not saying anything else. Watch the gameplay. This deck is amazing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Budget Magic time. It is... I think we might actually keep this. We get a bunch of surveilling, and Doppelgang's really good. Yeah, let's... This probably... Oh my god, that's Splunking. I think this hand's actually good for our deck. I mean, if we're against aggro, we might get run over, but Splunking, Doppelgang are the key pieces, and we get to just, like, keep surveilling, right? We can play the Archway, pick up the Desert, surveil again, and that's a ramp spell. I mean, with the surveilling, we should hit our ramp spell. So we're playing some Simic Burn up the beanstalk. Good enchantment, but I think ours might be a little bit better. Play the land, Splunking, draw a card, and put the surveil land into play, and yeah, we'll keep a Bonnie Paul. Well, this hand is working out. We kept a 6-lander, and we're gonna have a turn 4 Bonnie Paul. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Well, let's see what our opponent can do. They look like Domain. I think we just ramp harder than Domain. Oh, actually, do we? Yeah, we get Bounty Paul next turn, right? Even if we don't get blue mana this turn. Yeah, let's glimpse the core, snag a forest. And then glimpse the core, snag another forest. We're kind of set up. So next turn we can drop Bounty Paul if we want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Doppelgang, the sweet spot is 11 mana. It can be okay for X2. Oh, you're going after our Splunking opponent. We needed that. All right, opponent, gonna take our Splunking. Well, that was a good choice because Splunking is busted. If you think about it, we might just do that instead. Yeah, let's Bounty Paul. If our opponent wraths, they wrath. If they don't wrath, we got a lot of power. We got lots of power. I mean, Bounty Paul's actually kind of wild. It does just die to sweepers, but that was 6 mana, add what, 13 power? 2 bodies? Opponent does have the sweeper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I really don't want to doppelgang if we can help it, but it might be worth it just to get back. We can doppelgang the Leyline Binding and the Bounce Land, get back our Splunking. It's so much better X3, but this is still pretty good. So copy the Leyline Binding, copy the Bounce Land, and then I think these triggers should line up the way we want. We'll see. So we get the Leyline Bindings. We want those to resolve first. So Leyline Binding, get the Leyline Binding, get the up the Beanstalk. We don't really care about the Incubate. So now, oh no, it's not gonna line up right, is it? Splunking's gonna resolve first. I mean, this is still okay-ish. We'll put the land to the graveyard now. Yeah, I was hoping, yeah, the triggers don't line up the way we wanted. I was hoping to put a land back into play with Splunking, but it doesn't work if you're Leyline Binding to get the Splunking. It works if you just doppelgang the Splunking, but we got our Splunking back. That's an important thing. And one of the sweet things about this deck is we surveil, ooh, Imodane's Recruiter, make the dorks. It's another Bounty Paul. One of the cool things about this deck is we just surveil so much that we should be able to find our answers, or find our doppelgangs. The question is, what do we do now? We have a lot of mana. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, basically, we need another doppelgang. That's the missing piece of the puzzle. I think we just go both modes on Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Go both modes. Make a big dork. Grab a... Do we want pain? Yeah, I guess we go Crime Land. We could go for Surveilling, but I think Criming's fine. We do need the Crime Lands on the battlefield for the combo finish. Topiary Stomper. I mean, I guess we just cast all of our ramp. One of the things about Bounty Paul is, in some ways it's better in many ways it's better once we already have a creature on the battlefield. So I think rather than running it out here, we'll just ramp. Next turn, Bounty Paul, immediately attack to trigger, end with the Surveil Land. Yeah, I mean, I think another, well, yeah, let's keep it. I think it's worth keeping because of Leyline Binding. We only really need one Splunking, but because our opponent has main deck answers to Splunking, I think it's worth keeping here. Opponent. Herd Migration, sure. Normally very scared of that card, not as scared at the moment. So let's Splunking. Draw a card. Put a Crime Land into play. Paying ya. Down to 18. Bounty Paul, number 2. Make Babe. It's a 13-13. And I guess we just swing with both. Draw a card. I mean, we're a doppelgang away from winning. Actually, let's leave back the Stomper. Wow, that's a doppelgang. Wait, do we win this turn? How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, not quite. Not quite enough to win this turn. We need next turn. Next turn we win. And I don't think we die this turn. We have enough blockers. Even if they Imodane's Recruiter, I think we just block enough to stay alive. Is there any world where we mini doppelgang? We don't die, right? We don't die. The Imodane's Recruiter, we block 3. We take not lethal. Yeah, we're just gonna pass. We don't want to waste a doppelgang when it's, okay, that is actually the least scary Atraxa. What's the scariest hit? Another Leyline Binding? All right, they do find the Binding. Although I bet we can bait them into getting rid of the Bounty Paul, probably, so we don't draw a card. Yeah, this Atraxa does not matter. We don't need to attack to win here. We're just gonna combo off. Leyline Binding, opponent's tapped out. Is going to hit the Bounty Paul. Sure. They still can't kill us. So, QQ, 9, 14, 18. So we can go X 5, 8, 11, 14, X5. The problem is we don't have enough Crime Lands on the battlefield. So we're going to need to go splunking. Yeah, I think that works. I think this is fine. So here comes the combo. So we get a million splunkings. We want the bounce lands to resolve first, so we can pick up our lands and put them back into play with the splunking triggers. So we get a bunch of crime triggers. Burn ya. And now in theory, we surveil enough to find another doppelgang. So pick it up, surveil, mill it. We're milling everything except doppelgang. We want to find the doppelgang. Pick up a crime land, mill it. Pick up a crime or a surveil land, not a doppelgang. Pick up a... Yeah, we'll pick up a bounce land. It really doesn't matter here. We just want to hit deserts so we can find our Bonnie Paul. Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's not doppelgang. Doppelgang's just lethal, and we get so many surveils. I think we just got to go for it. So now I'll just pick up basics, and we still have all these splunking triggers to put surveil lands into play and draw a bunch of cards. So pick them up. All right, not a doppelgang. Well, put the crime land into play. And tap your stomper, put the crime land into play, burn ya. All right, a worm, bounce land into play, pick up a crime land, mill it, crime land back into play, and bounce land, pick up a crime land. Come on, doppelgang, mill the mill the island. All right, more crime lands. We need surveils. We need to find the doppelgang. Yeah, let's go with the surveil land. All right, not a doppelgang. I mean, even if we whiff, which hopefully we don't, we're still in really good shape. Mill the glimpse of the core. We got 3 more shots. Okay, another splunking is good. Another splunking is another redraw. Mill. Wow, where's these doppelgangs? Are we gonna whiff? Are we gonna do all this and not find? Wow, we're not gonna find it. Oh my goodness. Well, that's Bonnie Paul. Bonnie Paul's good. Oh, all right. No doppelgang though. We're supposed to find the doppelgang there and just win. Let's get a couple more surveils here, or at least one more. So get the bounce land, burn you down to 8. Pick up a pain land, mill the map. We can still redraw with splunking. I guess we can redraw with Bonnie Paul too. Yeah, let's play Bonnie Paul. Keep the old babe. Get in, draw a card. I mean, we're still just trying to find this splunking. We went through like our entire deck. How do we not find the splunking here? Do we deck thin? Yeah, let's just attack. I mean, that is a 29-29. We will swing with it. Draw an island. Well, let's get another surveil. We still have one more draw with the splunking. Pick up a crime land, mill the rattleworm. I think we're out of surveil lands to get with the rattleworm, though. We have 8 cards in our deck. There's 8 cards in 2 doppelgangs. Oh, do we low roll? We literally went through our entire, I mean, almost our entire deck here. Wow, that is unfortunate. 25% chance that we hit it off the splunking because our deck is mostly doppelgangs now. Splunking. Forest. All right, well, put an island into play. Actually, we'll put a force into play. Really, it doesn't matter. How awkward. We went through our entire deck except for 7 cards. Could not find the splunking. I mean, in a bigger sense, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, we know we're going to draw the doppelgang. It just means we don't win this turn, but we are deterministically, well, I don't want to say deterministically, but I think we will still win the game. We have an absurd amount of mana now. Because remember, all these bounce lands tap for 2. So we have like 30 mana just in bounce lands. So when we draw the doppelgang, it will be game. I'm gonna attack. Looks like they're on the Sunfall plan. I mean, our opponent shouldn't have any main deck counters, right? Block, block, block. Take a little bit. There's the Sunfall. Sure. Not actually relevant. Oh, opponent has splunking. Cute. We only have 13 of those, but that's nice. That's nice, opponent. You're doing it. That's cute, no main. Well, all right. Let's cast some stuff. We can flash in Colossal Rattleworm. Do we have lands left in our deck? We can flash in a Colossal Rattleworm, which technically is not quite lethal, especially since they can chump with their incubates. I think we have a land left, right? Let's Colossal Rattleworm. Where are these doppelgangs? My God. All right, get our last land. There they are. There's 2 doppelgangs in there. They are just both at the bottom of the library. Well, I mean, we're going to find them eventually, right? Splunking. Okay, not a doppelgang. Cast it. Come on, deck. Just give us a stupid doppelgang. Ah, there we go. Okay, now the game is over. So all we got to do now is make a little bit of mana. Looks like 46-ish, 44. Go X7. And just copy all crime lands. We could go more, but if we go too much more, I don't know if Arena's gonna like it. 49 damage? It'll be what? 7 copies of 7 crime lands. So yeah, 49 direct damage, and that is how you burn them out in Simic. And the deck's only like $30 too. $30, 16 rares, I think. It's gonna resolve, right? 7's not that high of a number. We could have went like way higher than this with the doppelganger, but we intentionally kept it light so we wouldn't crash Arena. Oh, wait! Unexpected match complete. Greg error. Greg. Wow, Greg, what did? Winner draw. So apparently Greg is not very good at their job. I didn't think X7 would kill it. Counts as a win in our hearts, right? A draw in the record book, but a win in our hearts. Now we know we need to keep the X of Doppelgang as low as possible while still being functional so we don't crash Arena. Greg, our mortal enemy. I mean, we got a little stomping and a little dopping. We don't have a splunking, but that's, I mean, it's not like we mulligan for splunking or whatever. Ah, is this a rematch? All right. Well, this is good because I'm actually curious. Since our last game was against Domain and ended up being a draw, I'm actually curious what happens if we play a full game. Oh, another doppelgang. If we play a full game, do we actually just beat Domain? We might. I feel like we might, especially since we can doppelgang their stuff too. Like if they play an Atroxa or something, we can just doppelgang it. Wyoming. Well, okay, let's get down the Tompieri Stompa. Well, step 1, get as close to 11 mana as possible, which is way easier than it used to be thanks to the bounce lands. Well, grab an island. Tompieri Stompa is a little awkward with bounce lands, but it's still worth it. Like eventually, even though we're bouncing our own mana base, it's still gonna turn on. Plus, it's just 3 mana ramp. Opponent planes, and gonna do a little stomping of their own. Well, play... So one of the things to keep in mind with this deck, surveil lands before tutoring our library, pretty bad. So if you have a surveil land, try to do it after. We'll just go bounce land, crime land. That's usually the safest package. So we get the bounce land, we get a damage, and then we can pick up the surveil land to, well, that's a splunking. Well, in that case, I guess we just play a forest, since we know we want the splunking. Part of what makes the deck work is we're constantly surveilling. So try to get value out of your surveils if you play the deck. Like, don't just waste, I do it sometimes on accident, but in theory, if you're playing the deck well, you hopefully will not waste too many surveils. Like, play a basic when you have something you know you want on top, because you'd just be wasting the surveil. Opponent Stomper number 2. So we could Doppelgang X2, although Doppelgang's so much better once we splunking. We should be able to get to 11 mana next turn, right? We can glimpse the core, get a forest. Do this first, because we're probably going to do some surveilling. Now we can play a surveil land. Definitely Milling Rattleworm, because we can ramp with that from the graveyard. So that's like hitting another. Wow, that's actually insane. Well, we're definitely gonna get to 11 next turn. The question's going to be, do they answer the splunking? Because in theory, they can leyline binding it. But if they don't answer the splunking, I think we just combo kill next turn. We can Rattleworm to get another land. Might as well get in. If they want to trade, that's fine. If they want to kill it, that's also fine. All right, well, now we're actually just hoping our opponent, like, plays Atroxa or something. Rooting for the Atroxa. All we care about is them not killing our splunking. If they kill the splunking, we still have a pretty spectacular turn next turn, but we don't just win the game. If they don't kill they're hovering on it too. If they don't kill the splunking, then we should just be able to combo kill, especially having both doppelgangs in hand. We don't even have to worry about like, oh, can we surveil into the doppelgang? We already have it. Oh, we might see the full power of this deck. What turn is this? Opponent's double ramped. Is this turn 5? Is this turn 5 combo kill? Just going to cast an Archangel. I mean, this is great for us. Sure. We dropped to 16. Well, let's Colossal Rattleworm. Colossal Rattleworm's really good. Grab a bounce land. Pick up a Surveil land. Yeah, well, I don't think we need it. Don't need the Dance of the Tumbleweeds anymore. Ooh, another Splunking. Well, let's play the Surveil land. Mill more Tumbleweeds. If we Splunking, we can still do the thing, right? Let's Splunking. Draw a crime land. Play the crime land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I may have miscounted a little. I thought we could Splunky and still have 11, but I was incorrect. Yeah, that was a punt. Feel free to yell at me in the chat for that one. That was a punt. We should have just doppelganged X3. Too bad at math to play the Splunking. I mean, in a broad sense, it shouldn't matter. Opponent hits us. I don't think they can kill us here. And we can still do the same thing next turn. But we should have just cast a doppelgang. Okay, we're not gonna play the Splunking. We're not gonna stop tempting us, Splunking, with your beautiful untap land glory. All right, Glimpse to the graveyard. We can win the game, right? We can just win the game here. The question is, we might not even need to copy the Splunking here. We have enough mana, right? That if we just double doppelgang. So doppelgang, 3 crime lands and a bounce land. So this is gonna deal 12. This also hopefully will not crash arena. This is what we should have just done last turn if I could count. All right, so deal a little damage, just a little off the top. This also generates a ton of mana because remember we copied bounce lands. And we can pick up our tap lands. So we're copying lands that make 2 mana. So a Doppelgang X3 with a bounce land out actually ends up generating mana, which is part of the trick of the deck. So opponent, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. And now we pick up some tap lands, do some surveilling. At this point, it doesn't especially matter because I think we just win right now. Bonnie Paul, yeah, let's keep it on top. If somehow this goes wrong, which I don't think it can. So we have 15, 20 mana. Let's just doppelgang. So we need a doppelgang X5 just in case they have like life gain. So just doppelgang X5, copy 5 more crime lands. So this is gonna be 25 damage. Well, we should have done this last turn if I could count, but why win this turn when you can win a turn from now? I mean, look at this combo kill though. Oh, doing a little bit of criming. Oh, this deck's so ridiculous. Yeah, opponent scoops. It's almost like we're playing a different game. And we're playing against the ramp deck of the format in Domain, and we're just doing it way better than they are. So sideboard-wise, there's not really much. We'll do a little trimming, and actually, Negate is probably just better than Disdainful Stroke. We don't really care about our opponent resolving their big things. We just need to make sure we can resolve our big things. Because as we saw that game, if both decks do their thing, our thing just beats their thing. So we just got to make sure we don't get farewelled or our opponent brings in counters to stop our doppelgang. Yeah, let's run it like that. This deck is absurd. If you really think about it, the bounce land with Splunking, it's kind of having Ancient Tomb, legal and standard, right? It taps for 2 mana. It doesn't even hurt you. Actually insane. This deck is so ridiculous. And remember, this is a $30 budget build, a 16 rare $30 budget build, and it's already doing busted things. I imagine if you go no budget and can I don't know, splash into another color to have some sweepers or something. I imagine this deck's gotta be busted. I was saying it's kind of ridiculous. Yes, we will snap keep this. So no doppelgang, no Bonnie Paul, but okay, I take that back. Doppelgang, achieved. But we have a lot of ramp. We just have ramp, and we have the Splunking. Opponent plays the tap land. So the question is gonna be, I think you should take Splunking, but I guess I could see, yeah, opponent goes doppelgang. There also was maybe an argument for just taking the... Oh, we wasted a Surveil, unfortunately, but gotta do it. There might have been an argument for just taking the ramp spell, the 2 mana one. This might be a Colossal Rattleworm game. Ooh, we draw the bounce land. Yeah, let's just Topiary Stomp. We can wait on the Splunking. Grab a island. Usually better to grab islands, because... Ooh, that's Bonnie Paul. Yeah, this looks like a beatdown game. Usually better to grab islands with Stomper because Glimpse can only get forest. Opponent's going to join the ramp party. Invasion of Zendika. Well, let's see if our opponent has farewells. We can't actually Bonnie Paul this turn, unfortunately, which is awkward. But we can keep stomping and getting blue sources. And surveil. Yeah, we'll keep a land for next turn. Why not? The deck wants all the lands it can get. All right, opponent. What do you got? Tap land and depopulate. Well, kind of an early Wrath. We're kind of fine with that. Let's just play a Splunking. Draw a card. Wow, that's doppelgang too. All right, so pass, and we can flash in a Rattleworm. Rattleworm's so good in this deck. Virtue of Persistence, sure. Opponent can start reanimating our Stompers, I guess. The question is, what do we do now? Yeah, we don't have enough to do the doppelgang thing, so let's just Bonnie Paul. Get in with a Rattleworm, draw a card, put a land into play, hit you down to 13. I mean, honestly, unless our opponent has another Wrath, I think we just win by attacking. We can flash in another 6/5 Trampler. Rattleworm is so above the curve. And in this deck, it's absurd because we always have a desert. Our deck's full of deserts. Grabs a forest with our Stomper from the Virtue. Well, does our opponent have another Wrath? I guess an Atraxa would be fine. Like, that's a big lifelinking blocker, at least. The problem is, our opponent has to actually deal with us on 2 levels here. They need to deal with our board, or they just die to the beats. They also need to stop this Doppelgang, which we're 1 land away from Doppelgang X3, which is typically just I win if we have Splunking out. Oh, is our opponent just passing? No Wrath? Okay, well, and... all right, opponent's going to get lost the Rattleworm. Well, I guess they need to because of trample. Well, there's a negate. Well, go attacking. Can we hit a land? Oh, we just... we get the fair crime land win. Well, I guess we just map the frontier, grab a couple of crime lands. Opponent's down at 1, and that's how you burn someone out in Simic. I think we beat Domain. Can we beat aggro? That's another question, but Domain, my goodness. Wow, what a deck. Well, this hand's a little risky. We need 1 more land, but with 1 more land, this hand is excellent. Orzhov, eh? Lunarch Veteran. Ooh, all right. Well, this is good. This is good. I was wondering what how our deck would do against a more aggressive deck. So let's see. I imagine this is going to be a deck that puts a bunch of creatures on the battlefield. Oh god. Amelia Bedelia. That's not good. It's good we hit our 3rd land, but with our opponent on the play, we might just be too slow. Glimpse of Core does help. Wow, those were 2 very good draws. Land in a Glimpse of Core. I mean, this gets us to 4 mana next turn, which gets us to Bonnie Paul the turn after that. Will that be enough? All right, oh, Voice of the Blessed. Oh, this is a very aggro start. All right, gains life. And, well, at least they're not growing the Amelia yet. Amelia? Opponent hits us down to 16. I don't think we can afford to Splunking here. I think we have to map the frontier. Yeah, bounce land and crime land, probably. The traditional pile. And then we can just pick up a forest, I guess. Paying it for 1, pick up the forest. I mean, so we do get to play Bonnie Paul. Whether or not Bonnie Paul actually stabilizes, oh, another Lunarch Veteran. The issue is this Voice of the Blessed is getting very big, and it is going to be able to fly. And a Phantom, and grows the Dorks. Yeah, I think we're too far behind here. I think we lose through the Bonnie Paul. Opponent hits us. So you're up to 5. Do we even show our opponent anything, or do we just give up? I don't really want to show Splunking. Yeah, you know what? Let's jam it. I mean, there is a world where... yeah, I don't see a way we can win from here. So in theory, Bonnie Paul can chump the Voice for a turn. If it dies, then we lose. Oh, all right, Gix's command, yeah. That'll do, pig. Paul Bunyan, not big enough to overcome Amelia Bedelia. So yeah, aggro seems a little trickier. We can bring in witness protections. Those are good. I guess just do a little trimming. I don't know if Balost's really worth it. Yeah, let's run it like that. Well, at least we're on the play for game number 2. We're on the play, which is big. That game, our opponent had a very nice curve out. That was kind of the dream draw, I think, if you're white-black life gain. Oh, this hand's actually really close. I actually don't mind 6 landers with this deck. I think we can keep it. It might be bad against aggro, we'll see. But in general, like a bunch of lands, including some surveil lands and ramp, is actually kind of fine. Well, let's surveil. The surveilling, well, there's splunking. The surveilling really changes the equation. The fact that we can surveil every turn for the next 3 turns, that makes it a lot easier to keep hands like this because we don't really risk just drawing more lands. So play the splunking, draw a card. It's a stomper. Play the bounce land, pick up the surveil land, keep the doppelgang. Okay, this hand. So you can see the 6-lander is like, it's working out. This is exactly where we want to be. Opponent, face down card. Okay. Oh, well, let's map the frontier, I guess. Well, Stomper can't block anyway. Yeah, let's just map the frontier. I'm a little worried that that face down card could be the elephant that could exile Splunking. We'll just go double crime land here. This actually works out pretty well. We can double crime land, and then we can play an island, then we can Topiary Stomper, and this does turn on the Stomper, and now we're getting pretty close to doppelganging. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'd really like one more ramp spell. A ramp spell next turn would be really sweet. If we can ramp spell next turn, we can get to 11. Ooh, Archangel Elspeth. Huh. Okay. Makes a 1/1. Well, that's a ramp spell. Well, all right. So that means we're going to wait on this doppelgang. We can glimpse, grab a forest, surveil land, find a, well, melee crime land. Pass the turn. Well, actually, we can attack the Elspeth. If they want to jump, they can. That's fine. The Elspeth, I guess the scariest mode is probably giving something flying and growing it. So we should be good to Doppelgang X3. Still concerned that this is the elephant. If we go to Doppelgang the Splunking and they exile in response, that would be very bad. We don't really care about Gumdrop Poisoner. That's perfectly fine. Our opponent can gain as much life as they want. Like, we will kill them if they get to 100 life. It doesn't matter. Like, once we do our thing, it deals so much damage. I guess we could run into a token limit issue if they got up to like 200 life, but then our babes would be 200s. Oh, Paul Bunyan. Opponent's really thinking here. The fact that they're not just casting stuff is making me this morph is really making me nervous. Opponent, gonna make a soldier, gonna gain a life. Sure. I mean, we'd probably go for it anyway. I'd be more comfortable if I knew they couldn't unmorph this, but okay. Yes, block, no fear at all. It was the land. Who plays the land? All right, Virtue kills the Stomper. Well, okay, now we should be good to go. Well, let's see if we combo kill here. Let's see if our surveil plan works. So play the surveil land, mill the forest. So we doppelgang X3, bounce land, crime land, Splunking. 3 copies of Splunking, 3 of each land. Come into play untapped. So this means because of these bounce lands, we actually got back all of our mana. And we actually gain mana because of the Splunkings. So we actually turn into a ritual. Rattleworm goes to the graveyard. So now we just need one more Splunking, and we should win this turn. Map the frontier. Ooh, yeah, let's mill it. Let's go for the gold. We still have a bunch of draws. Desert. Mill the Rattleworm. Draw a Splunking. Put a surveil land into play. Come on. Doppelgang. Mill was witness protection. Map the frontier. I mean, even if we whiff, this is still a very big turn. Mill the island. One more shot. Doppelgang. Rattleworm. All right. We're not going to win this turn. Well, I guess we could theoretically hit it off the Splunking. There's still one more chance. Surveil. Mill the crime land. Because we can still play the Splunking, right? And still have enough mana, I think. So play the Splunking. Doppelgang? Come on. Magic Gods? Topiary Stomper. All right. So we don't win this turn. I guess we got to wait till next turn. Still, look at this. Look at the amount of mana we have and look at this board. So now we can, I guess, just run out the Topiary Stomper. Yeah, let's do some stomping. Get a forest. Then we can use Map the Frontiers and the Rattleworms to get more surveil lands to try to find a doppelgang for next turn. Yeah, I guess we get Archway. That works. So we get to surveil and surveil. Pick up a surveil land. Doppelgang? No. Stomper. Witness protection? No. So we pass the turn. We can flash in the Rattleworm if we want to, or we can just use these rattleworms from the graveyard to do more surveilling. We're just, now all we need is the doppelgang. Like, once we find the doppelgang, we just win the game. And we're in a pretty sweet spot because even if, did you just crack your food and, oh, the Lunarch Veteran, all right. Kills the Stomper, that makes sense. I thought they were just short of killing it. I was like, why are you doing that? Well, opponent plays land number 6. I think we are slightly ahead on mana. Just a little bit. Opponent hits us. Well, we might as well, yeah, let's just Rattleworm, eat the Lunarch Veteran. We can try to, oh, all right, a little late with the stop. Well, attack the Elspeth. Glimpse the Cornell we wanted. I wanted to set an upkeep stop to Colossal Rattleworm to get Surveil lands, but little late. Slow on the draw, as they would say in Thunder Junction. Get rid of that. Thankfully, we're not under that much pressure. There's no huge voice to worry about this time. Well, let's do some deck thinning. Deck thinning actually does kind of matter here. We just want to shift the odds of getting a doppelgang. Well, Bonnie Paul, all right. That's good enough. We can play it, draw a card, do the Rattleworm stuff to dig for doppelgang. Take Numa, abandon Maya. Sure. What do they get back? Opponent has 2 mana. They can get back the Elspeth. Elspeth, Lunarch Veteran, or Bat? Maybe they take the Bat. They know they know one of the 2 cards in our hand. I don't know what they, yeah, all right. I don't know what they think we could have in hand here, though. Like, we have infinite mana. What would we possibly be holding in hand and not casting other than a land? Opponent hits us down to 9. Well, now we don't want to Rattleworm yet because we want to draw the Bonnie Paul. So draw the Bonnie Paul, but now we can do some Rattleworming to thin the deck and hopefully surveil to find a doppelgang. Get Archway. Pick up the Surveil land. Well, there she blows. Well, now we just play Bonnie Paul, and that should be the combo kill. Bonnie Paul, combat, Rattleworm, attack you, draw the doppelgang, get back, I guess, a crime land. So now we just got to do this without crashing arena. We need 25 damage. Yeah, I mean, we don't even have to do shenanigans here, right? Just copy all the crime lands. Actually, wait, do we have enough? Oh yeah, we have plenty of crime lands. We can do that. All right, play the crime land. Burn ya, doppelgang, X5, crime land, crime land, crime land, crime land, and crime land. So 5 times 5, 25 crime lands, 25 mana, 25 damage. Oh, should have gained a little bit more life, opponent. We could have upped the X one more, but we really don't want to crash arena here. And this deck's kind of wild. This deck is actually like kind of ridiculous. That's a 47-47. And and that is how you burn with Simic. Oh, I love this deck. I love this deck. If you want a really fun and oddly effective deck to put together ultra budget mode, I think this would be my choice for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's so cheap and it's so cool. I mean, Doppelgang's just already cool, but this takes it to another level. Before we Doppelganged, we're just like, oh, we're gonna Doppelgang, you know, make a ton of copies of stuff. Haha, gotcha. It was sweet, but now it's actually like a storm combo deck or something. It's like so crazy that this deck exists in Standard. We're gonna run it back. Now the real challenge. So game 1, opponent on the play, we got run over by this aggro deck. Can we beat aggro with our opponent being on the play? That is the challenge. Well, thankfully this hand looks busted. We will keep. See if it's fast enough. Opponent planes. Case of the Uneaten Feast. All right, well, crime ya. Down to 19. All right, no Amelia. Lunarch Veteran. Okay, that's fine. As long as it's not something that's growing, we can accept that. Wow, double doppelgang. Well, the good news about drawing 2 doppelgangs, it does mean if we can, another Lunarch Veteran, if we can get to 11 mana, we win the game. 2 doppelgangs, 11 mana. We don't even have to worry about trying to like surveil into more of them. All right, Splunking. Draw a card. Win this protection. They really need a, well, okay. I was going to say payoff, but that is a Voice of the Blessed, which is going to immediately become a 5/5. We can turn it into a legitimate business person, although it's still going to be kind of big. map the frontier. We do need to cast this witness protection. Let's go bounce land. Oh, we can double map the frontier, can't we? Splunking is so ridiculous. So we go bounce land, crime land. Splunking is such an absurd card. So that gets us 3 mana. We pick up the crime land. We surveil away the desert. Now we can play the land, Crimea, map the frontier, bounce land, and crime land. Hit you for 1. Pick it up, surveil, mill the forest. And now we legitimize the voice of the blessed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we need 2 turns. We need 2 turns. We got to survive for 2 turns. We could, I guess, do a mini doppelgang next turn if we're desperate. We also have Bonnie Paul that we can play just to put bodies on the battlefield. All right. That does make it possible that we die. Oh, we need 1 more turn. We need 1 more turn. We're 1 short. We go up to 10 mana. So we could just like doppelgang like voice Lunarch Veteran or something, gain a little life. So if we play Bonnie Paul, the problem is if they remove it and use Elspeth, we die. Actually, yeah, we do die. Yeah, all right, let's Splunking. We're gonna do a mini doppelgang. Splunking bounce land. So we're gonna do mini doppelgang, draw a couple cards, and then play the Bonnie Paul. And I think this still, wow, another doppelgang. I mean, we still definitely win next turn. We don't need to surveil anymore. So now the Splunking resolves. Put a land into play. If we had 1 more mana, we would have won right now. Put a land into play. And yeah, I mean, run out the Bonnie Paul. Save us, Paul Bunyan. And play the land and pass the turn. All right, so the way we die is removal on Bonnie Paul. Opponent, Scoured Barrens. But as long as that doesn't happen, next turn's going to be wild. Actually, I don't even know if it's wild. I think we just win. We have so much mana. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, I don't even know if we have to do shenanigans. I think we just straight up win. Opponent's got 5 lands and they had a fine draw for what their deck's trying to do. We're just doing something very different. Opponent. All right, gonna cash in the Elspeth on a Lunarch Veteran. Well, if they can kill Bonnie Paul with the reach, we are dead. Wow, Virtue doesn't kill it though. That's fine. I mean, we don't need this Bonnie Paul. Bonnie Paul does not matter at all. It's just a blocker. All right, I think we're good. So we dropped to 6, but, and QQ and do a little doppelganging. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Splunking, bounce land. Let's do it the fun way. So 4 of each. So 8 damage from the crime lands. Oh, it's such a cool synergy. So the bounce lands let us pick up the crime lands. We put them back into play with Splunking for even more damage, scry a bunch, and then all the lands are untapped because of the Splunking, so we doppelgang again, and that one's going to be lethal. Mill, and I don't even know what we keep here. I guess another... It doesn't really matter. We just win. We'll just keep the map the frontier so we don't have to keep surveilling. All right, so put our lands back into play. Crimea. Down to 13. Draw a glimpse. Crimea down to 12. And a Red Orm. And Crimea down to 10. And Crimea. And now we have even more mana. So we can map the frontier, get a crime land and a crime land. So hit you down to 8. And now we should be able to just doppelgang for the rest of it. QQ and doppelgang. We'll just go X4. I feel like I've not any issues going X4 with doppelgang. All right, there we go. X4, 16 more damage. We could have went bigger, right? We had 5 mana left over. So we could have went another X, but Arena's just not up to it. And opponent, well, I guess we can beat aggro. Still undefeated. With some Simic Burn? I don't know what to call this deck. What should we call this deck? I really have no idea. It's like deserts. It's burn. It's doppelgang. It's a combo deck. It's sweet. It's just sweet. Simic sweetness. This deck gets good hands pretty often, considering the only thing we really can't keep is no landers. And we can keep 6 landers. It is very hard to have an unplayable hand with this deck. Well, let's crime ya. Opponent leads on a Simic Surveil land. Mills a swamp, so Sultai maybe? Armored Scrap Gorger. Well, there's the doppelgang. Scrap Gorger is interesting because even though hasn't been good in standard, it is a way, well, okay, that's a free rider lookout. It is a way that you can crime every turn, as long as there's a card in your opponent's graveyard. Huh. Do we just Splunking first? Splunking sets up a really explosive turn next turn with the Map the Frontier Topiary Stomper. Opponent gonna do a little criming, opponent's also trying to ramp. It's cute. I mean, I think Free Strider Lookout's actually very good. I just don't think they're going to out-ramp us. They might beat us, but they're not going to out-ramp us. One thing our deck is not going to do is get out-ramped. Well, put the Lush Oasis into play. Crimea. Down to 18. Pass the turn. So next turn, it'll be interesting. Simone and Tina, spicy. So when you draw your second card, you drain, and then you sack something to draw a card and ramp. All right, down to 17. I mean, I think we just keep ramping. We could play Bonnie Paul since we drew the untap land, but Map the Frontier. I think our main goal is to get to this doppelgang, and I think we just go double bounce land here. Double bounce land, pick up the 2 crime lands, surveil away the Rattleworm. That's good. If our opponent tries to get it, we can exile in response. And we'll mill the Dance of the Tumbleweeds. We really just want Surveil number 2 to close out the game. So now, since we milled the Rattleworm, we can exile the Rattleworm to get another land, which will be a crime land. And now we can Topiary Stomper to get a... Splunking is an absurd... I need to play more Splunkings. I feel like I need to just start putting Splunking in every commander deck I play that has green in it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, opponent's going to kill the Topiary Stomper. The problem for our opponent is they need to kill the Splunking. If they don't kill the Splunking, we should win next turn with Doppelgang. Bonnie Paul. Good card, great card. It's in our deck too. We have 2 in hand. The problem for our opponent is they are tapped out and we're about to combo. Well, they have 1 mana with the Scrap Gorger, but mostly tapped out. Ooh, all right, not tapped out, but still, I mean, I think our opponent just dies here. Opponent, gonna do some criming, gonna whiff on the criming, or riff on the ramping, hit us down to 12. Are they gonna play something else? Another Scrap Gorger. Now our opponent's tapped out, which means we are good to go. Let's see if we can pull off the combo. Opponent's got to be, well, now we are definitely good to go. The second doppelgang is what we need to find, but now we don't even need to find it. Now we just win. So it's probably Splunking. Yeah, it's probably the traditional plio. Splunking, bounce land. Actually, let's go double bounce land. If we double bounce land, we can put the crime lands back into play, have enough mana for the second doppelgang. Yeah, let's do it this way. I think this works best. We are going to pick up basically our mana base. Which is fine. So 6 bounce land triggers. So pick up all the crime lands, mill the Rattleworm. I mean, I guess we're looking for another doppelgang, but I don't even think we need it here. I think this actually just does it, because copying double bounce land means we have, I mean, that's 12 mana of bounce lands, right? Plus we get to put 3 lands into place. We have 15. So yeah, we pick up pretty much all of our non-bounce lands. Now we get to put our crime lands back into play. Burn ya. And burn ya. And burn ya. And now... Wait, do we... We only have 3 crime lands. We might have to go for Splunking again. Splunking, crime land, bounce land. Yeah, I think we got to do it that way. If we had 1 more crime land, we just copy all the crime lands and win that way. I think this still leads to us winning, though. 2 crime lands, that's going to be 8 damage. A bunch more bounce lands. And now we have a bunch more mana. I guess we go back to looking for another doppelgang, although I think we can maybe win without it. Let's see. So burn you, burn you, burn you, burn you. Start picking up crime lands. Mill the Rattleworm. Pick up the crime land. Mill the Rattleworm. So many Rattleworms. I mean, those are good ones to mill. Pick up the crime land. Mill the Glimpse the Core. Pick up a forest. Put the crime land back into play. So hit you down to 5. Hit you down to 4. Ah, there it is. All right. Well, that makes it super easy. Hit you to 3. And another crime land. Hit you to 2. We could have just done it with Map the Wasteland, I think. Or Map the Frontier. But anyway, doppelgang, QQ. We'll just go a little mini one to make sure we don't crash arena. Copy the crime lands. I guess we're scared of counters. I mean, they have good creatures. I think we got to trust that our theory for creatures with this deck, since we're a budget deck and we're a Simic deck, is pretty much we're hoping that our Rattleworms and Bonnie Pauls can hold them off. An interesting possibility for this deck, non-budget, would be to go into Bant, cut maybe like Invasion of Zendikar, maybe a Tumbleweed, cut like maybe 3 ramp spells, not Splunking, not Rattleworms, but cut maybe 3 ramp spells, maybe 4, and just play some Sunfalls. That would solve any issues with aggro. So that might be the future as far as a non-budget build of the deck. It would cut down a little bit on the redundancy of our ramp. The other possibility is you go into Bant and you play the same main deck and just like play a bunch of cheap removal and sweepers in the sideboard. That would also be easy. I guess you could go into black too and do it with Deadly Cover-Up. If you went to black for Deadly Cover-Up, you could also play Duresses. Maybe Sultai would be even better. I'm actually not sure. Non-budget mode. I think the base would look very much like this. But you could go into black or white, and I think it would be good. I'm really not sure how we want to sideboard here. I think we're going to sideboard lightly and trust that we just out-combo our opponent. Do a little trimming. We'll bring in a Negate, a Disdainful Stroke, Witness, one of each. One of each, just a little taste of all of our sideboard cards. And run it like that. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, sure. Got some ramp and a Rattleworm. We haven't really seen Tumbleweeds pop off, but it can make a pretty big creature in the late game. Bounce line's fine. Crime, yeah. 19. Bonerino. Armored Scrap Gorger. Island, Glimpse the Core. No point in playing a Surveil land if we're just gonna shuffle anyway. Grab a forest. Pass the turn. Opponent. Land and Jamonindina. Play the Surveil land. I guess we keep map. Let's pass. It would be nice if we could ambush this Simonandina with the Rattleworm. I don't know what the odds are of that working. Mosswood Red Knight. Draws a card. Drains. No removal. Get in with the Simonandina. All right, Mosswood Red Knight. They've seen the Rattleworms, though, so I bet they... Yeah, opponent knows that it's a possibility. Plays around it. Well, we get a Rattleworm. Do a little mapping and get a bounce land, get a crime land. We have a Surveil land we can pick up, which is nice. So we're looking for Splunking and, well, okay, there's the Splunking. We found the Splunking, now we need the Doppelgang. That's the last piece of the puzzle. I think we're gonna go aggro here and get in there. Hit ya, down to 13. Crime ya. Wow, opponent's gonna sack. All right, sack, draw. Can put a land into play. Sure. I mean, if we can find the Doppelgang, we're in pretty good shape. Oh boy, Bonnie Paul. All right, that's a little scary. That's a lot of power on the battlefield. Bonnie Paul, I think, is actually just a good card. I think it's actually pretty good. Opponent, yeah, triggers, Simone, drains. Down to 16. Still not attacked with the Simone. I guess I want to activate it. Well, let's do our Splunking. Draw a card. There's a Doppelgang. Play the land. Play the Bonnie Paul. Okay, we might be okay now. We might be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we should be able to do the thing next turn, right? Found it. Are we trading? Wait, do we just win? They can't exile our Rattle Worm, sadly. Tear Asunder goes attacking. Well, I'd rather have the Tear Asunder hit the Babe than hit the Splunking. Oh, I think we're going to take it. This might be greedy, but we're going to take it. A Forsaken Miner. All right, unless our opponent's last card is a counter spell, we should just win here. I mean, if they have a counter, pick up the bounce land, or pick up the crime land, mill the surveil land. We can Rattle Worm before our opponent exiles it. Well, I mean, I guess the question is going to be, do they have a counter? Grab the Oasis. Yeah, let's get and draw a card. Another Bonnie Paw. Get back the Surveil land. Yeah, we're going to mill that. You going to take it? All right, takes it down to 9. Well, I mean, here goes nothing. So we have enough to go X3, so Doppelgang. Wait, can we just win by hitting 3 crime lands? So they can't draw their second card for the turn, right? They're at 9. So crime land, crime land, crime land, that's 9. I don't see a way they can gain life. Simone and Dina, oh wait. They sack a creature, 8 lands, double trigger? So I guess they could gain life. Yeah, they can gain life with Simone and Dina. So we gotta go Splunking and bounce lands, I guess, and do it that way. Splunking, bounce land, crime land. They do have it. Well, okay, so counter spells are good against us. They are good against us. Now we know our sideboard plan is going to be negates. Also might have punted a little bit. I guess we didn't really need to attack with the Bonnie Paw. It probably would have been smarter, now that I think about it, to not attack. We had enough mana that we didn't need the land from Bonnie Paw. So we get a left back Bonnie Paw, Doppelganged, and then if our opponent did have the counter, I think we could block and stay alive at like 1, and then at least we'd have a shot. So I think that was a slight mistake. On a game 3 though, in this hand, we got the negate. So at least what happened last game should not happen this game. We can win the counter war. Well, all right, crime ya. And opponent leads on the tap land. Yeah, I think we gotta wait on our bounce land so we can get down the Stomper on turn 3. Grab a island? Pretty much always grab an island with Stomper. And pass the turn. Well, we do need to find some action. Hopefully our... Ooh, Lord Skitter. All right, that's kind of a clock. Well, yeah, I mean, this is awkward, but I think we have to bounce land, pick up the tap land just to surveil here. Mill the land. Pass the turn. So Bonnie Paw's good, Splunking's good. Ramp, I guess, is okay because it gets us a bunch of surveils to find the other things. Opponent goes attacking. Opponent, land. Well, glimpse the core. I mean, might as well keep on ramping. Grab a forest. We'll leave the negate up, but the negate doesn't really do much against our opponent's deck. Like, the negate's good at forcing through the Doppelgang, or whatever thing we need to force through. Huh, Dread Knight, eh? Sure. And a Deep Cavern Bat. Yeah, well, there goes the negate. All lands in hand. Okay. Opponent said oops. What was the oops? That we should have countered the Dread Knight? I don't know about that. All right, deck, give us a bomb. We're not dead next turn, so we map the frontier. Get... So this will get us 2 surveils. We don't have the Splunking, though, which is awkward. So, surveil, mill the Rattleworm, and pick up the surveil land, mill the surveil land. Surveil. Oh, Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Is that enough? Not really. I'll pass the turn. Yeah, this isn't looking great. Well, I guess we get to attack. Still not looking great, though. At least Topiary Stomper turns into a real boy, so we can stop this Lord Skitter. Yeah, this Lord Skitter just build an army, and the army is kind of killing us. Opponent's going to try to get the Rattleworm. We will exile it. Get a land that surveils. Opponent knows our entire hand. Now we got to keep Splunking. Splunking's a start. It's a start. We can Splunking into the Doppelgang and have a shot. The problem is we're just running out of time, right? Opponent must with Dread Knight. Are we dead next turn? Possibly. This is a big splunking. Come on. Come on, Splunk. We might need a Bonnie Paw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's surveil first. Definitely don't want that. So splunking into something that keeps us alive? Not exactly. Well, I guess we play the forest. I mean, in theory, we can live one more turn. I mean, let's surveil and crime. In theory, we live one more turn. If they have removal, we do not. Glimpse the core, that's not gonna do it. We're just kind of whiffing here. We've surveilled a lot, but we have just not found any of our payoffs, which is kind of unfortunate. Is this the end? Is this the end of the win streak? Opponent, do you have a removal spell? Yes. And dead. Budget magic time. We are burning people out with Simic and deserts of all things. And that looks pretty great. I mean, ramp, 2 splunkings. Kinda the dream. Well, forest, go. Besiege you. Ooh, all right. I'm glad they played that as a land. That could blow up a splunking. Well, I guess we gotta back up Bushwhack, eh? Don't usually see Bushwhack outside of Phyrexian Obliterator shenanigans. Well, let's Conduit. I guess we keep the Glimpse. Do a little ramping with the Glimpse. Grab a forest. Opponent planes and passes. Well, let's splunk. Get our splunk on. Put the bounce land into play. Pick up the surveil land, and I guess we keep Rattleworm. Surveil land. Oh, I'm kind of an idiot. All right, Glimpse the core. Yeah, definitely should have milled that Colossal Rattleworm. That's a putt. That's a putt. Oops. Yes, feel free to yell at me in chat. Wow, opponent misses their land drop. Wow. The magic gods reward us with a doppelgang for our punting. Life is not fair. Life is not fair for our opponents. Rewarded for our whatever the opposite. Loose play. I was going to say whatever the opposite of tight is. I guess it's loose. Hit ya. Down to 18. Yeah, I mean, I guess we play the land. And we can splunk into the bounce land, instill Colossal Rattleworm. I'll put the bounce land into play. Pick up the surveil land. Take a peek. I think we're splunky enough. Yeah, let's mill the splunking. We already have 2. We don't really need a 3rd. 2 is not bad because we have a backup if our opponent kills one. Opponent finds their land. Well, we're gonna flash in this Colossal Rattleworm. Do we win the game this turn? All right, we get to do fun things. We are going to have some fun. So we can doppelgang for 3, which is kind of the magic number. Well, let's, I guess, get in with the Rattleworm first. Maybe our opponent will tap some manas to kill it or something. What land do we want to play? Let's surveil. We would like to find more doppelgangs. Splunking, bounce land. So now we're going to draw 6. We're going to get 3 bounce lands. The crime lands. Bonnie Paul, sure. Bonnie Paul, sure. I mean, we can play that right away. Pick up the surveil land. All right, so draw Bonnie Paul. Put a crime land into play. Crime ya. Down to 11. Draw a Topiary Stomper. Put a crime land into play. Crime ya to 10. Oh my god, that's another doppelgang. Okay, crime ya. Down to 9. Put the land into play. Put the land into play. Do a little surveilling. Keep the land because we can put it into play. So put the bounce land into play. Pick up, I guess just a tap land, a forest. So we can doppelgang for 3 again. We made 2 mana. We could just copy the 3 deserts. I think it's more fun to do this, though. Let's see how far we can go with this. Doppelgang, X3, splunkings, bounce land, run it back. Pick up a crime land. Whatever, Tumbleweed's fine. Pick up the crime land. Pick up the surveil land. And all right, now we start drawing. Crime land, hit ya. And that's another doppelgang. Surveil land. I think we might have broke the splunking record. Oh, that's the that is the fourth doppelgang. Well, okay. We definitely did not take the easiest pathway to victory, but boy, look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing. Okay, now we can doppelgang for 4. Actually, no, we can still only go 3. All right, this time we will respectfully just kill our opponent. X3, all on crime lands. Opponent, can you stop it? Apparently not. Well, look at our opponent's deck. They have 4 lands. They have 4 lands. Look at what we have. Like, it's like we're doing something completely different than our opponent. And this is with another doppelgang in hand left over. That was not even close. That was not even close. We kind of stumbled and bumbled our way through that. It was still just, the deck's so powerful. Well, what do we want sideboarding against this deck? Probably some counters, maybe. Actually, I don't even know. We didn't even see our opponent do anything. Our opponent played 4 lands. And we made, I don't even know, 30 lands or something, and they died. Let's just run it back. Without us knowing what our opponent's up to, not really much of a point in sideboarding aggressively. Can you stop our Simic Burn? This might be my favorite budget deck I've built in a long time. Oh God, I love this deck. Wow, okay. Actually punished for the bounce lands. First time that's happened. The Arid Archway cannot be played without another land. I mean, it can be played, it's just gonna bounce itself, which is not ideal. Gonna have to ship. This we're gonna keep. This hand is about as greedy as a keep can be, but we do have a Surveil land. We're on the draw. As long as we hit, well, okay, an island's awkward. Bonnie Paul gotta go graveyard. As long as we hit 1 more land and it makes green mana, then we're off to the races. And then we got the Splunking, we got the Doppelgang. We got really everything we need. So as long as we hit 1 more land, and we are playing 27, so we have a lot of lands in the deck. Opponent Plains and Armored Scrap Gorger. Wow, it's a Doppelgang. Please just give us a forest. Opponent forest. Opponent's got a forest. And a Topiary Stomper. Oh, what is our opponent doing? Huh. So it's just like a 5-color pile? Wow, we're behind on lands, which is not a place we want to be. Opponent hits in with the Scrap Gorger. Sure. Oh, magic gods. Once again, come through. And part of the power of playing this bounce land, it's kind of hitting 2 land drops, right? So we get the Archway. The Archway lets us pick up the Surveil land, and we can surveil for a land. More importantly, it gives us a land drop next turn. So it's kind of like hitting, ooh, I think we can mill it. We're not under that much pressure. Actually, yeah, we'll keep it. We'll keep it. We do have we have Map the Frontier, so we're gonna hit our lands. Opponent gets in and exiles. Well, play the land, surveil. Yeah, probably should have played the surveil land a little later. Yeah, Map the Frontier. Get a Archway and a crime land. I mean, we're gonna get to surveil again anyway, but we did kind of waste that one. Pick up the surveil land, keep the island. So 11's the magic number, although Chromo Seed Shark. Opponent's 1 land away from turning on the Stomper. We might have to mini Doppelgang. It's actually kind of cute. We can we're under some pressure now. Like, we're down to 15 and our opponent has a lot of power on board. We might have to mini Doppelgang this turn. Mini Doppelgang, and we can copy Stomper and Chrome Host maybe just to get some blockers, and then we still get to ramp. And that actually ramps us up into a better Doppelgang next turn. Do we want another Surveil land? Probably. Hitting land drops is good. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's Splunk. We can Splunking and Rattleworm. Doppelgang gets so much better if we get to 11. At 8, it's okay, and copying the Stomper is fine. But I think with the Rattleworm, we should be able to survive this turn fine. We can flash it in, block a Stomper, and then try to set up to go off next turn, I think is the hope. Ooh, wow, okay. Well, I'm glad we didn't try to combo, because that's bad. So good news is, this is an extra land on the battlefield. Bad news is, without the Splunking, we can't actually go fully not even infinite, but we can't really do the combo without Splunking. We can still get a lot of value out of Doppelgang, but, well, let's see how bad this is. Opponent does have some creature lands, too, which is even more damage. Land. Restless Vinestalk. All right. So opponent eats the Splunking. Gonna grow the Scrap Gorger. Wow, we actually take a ton of... We almost did die. Well, Claws of Rattleworm. I think it's correct to block a non-land. Usually, like, my impulse is always kill a land because you put your opponent down a land. The thing is, I think we want our opponent to have to spend 5 mana to get a creature rather than have a creature for free. So I think we just block... Yeah. Block the Scrap Gorger, Rattleworm, Surveil Land. I mean, we're going to be able to X3 a Doppelgang no matter what. Let's just get the Surveil. Wow, that's a Splunking. Okay. Well, that worked out. So we can't Splunking and go X3. We can Splunking, go X2, and set up for next turn to have the second Doppelgang with the Splunking. Can we stay alive is the question. We do need to not die. Dying would be bad. So we can play the island. Yeah, I think it's safest to just go X3. We're at 2. So we die to like a stiff breeze at this point. Doppelgang, Stomper, Seed Shark. Get a bunch of blockers. We still get to ramp here, which is hilarious. Copying the Stomper is kind of like copying a land because we end up getting 3 lands out of it anyway. And this should set us up to be able to Splunking Doppelgang next turn, as long as we don't die. I mean, hopefully, like, this should keep us alive, right? That's a lot of Seed Sharks. Courier's Briefcase, found it. Gonna do some incubate. We're also gonna do some ridiculous amount of incubating. And they're gonna be big incubates too because of Doppelgang. Found it. We might actually just win with incubates this game. Opponent draws some cards, sure. Doppelgang is like the coolest card. Wow. All right, that's a bounce land. Well, let's play the Splunking. Trigger 6 Chromos Seed Sharks. Do just a little incubating. My God, that's another Doppelgang too. Well, this one should be over. Unless our opponent, they have 1 mana. I don't even think they can counter it with 1 mana. We have, what, 15? So we can go X4, Splunking, Bounce Land, Topiary Stomper, Crime Land. We are going to make 6 of the biggest incubates of all time. Do a little criming, do a little pinging. This deck is so incredibly sweet. Get a forest. So we basically get to thin all the basics out of our deck. Get a bunch more mana. Ping you a bunch. Pick up some lands, which is actually an upside because we're just gonna put them back down anyway. Doesn't really matter about surveilling at this point. This game is just 100% over. Pick them up, put them down, crime ya, and yeah, I guess we can bounce land, pick up a crime land. Actually, I guess we can just pick up the forest that's tapped. At this point, it really doesn't matter what we do. We just have super duper, mega, ultra lethal here because we got another Doppelgang. So QQ, this time we have 22 mana. As long as we can do this without crashing Arena, I guess we can map the Frontier first to get more crime lands. We don't want to go too big of X on Doppelgang or else it'll blow up Arena. We've seen that in the past. Bang ya. Splunking, trigger. Make a few incubates, draw a card, crime land, and now tap our manas and X4. Actually, yeah, we can go X5, right? Crime land. Let's Splunking. It doesn't really, I mean, we just win, but might as well draw some cards as we're winning. Arena. Greg. I don't want to see any errors from you, Greg. All right, whew. I guess Greg's getting better at his job. Thank you, Greg. Well done, Greg. You deserve a raise. Well, yeah, let's ping you a bit. Let's do a little criming with these lands. Opponent. What a wild. Look at this board. Look at those incubates. Look at those Splunkings. Opponent got us to 2, but that is not enough to overcome the Simic Burn, and, well, that is how you can do some ridiculous things and burn your opponent out with a Simic deck and Outlaws the Thunder Junction Standard. Golly gee. So what did we learn this week about Simic Desert Bird in Standard? And overall, the deck actually kind of worked. We went 6-3 with the deck for a 67% win percentage. So actually a really good win percentage, like overall, not just like good for a $30 one-tick 16 rare budget deck, but good for a deck in general. So the deck actually is really competitive, and it gives some of the most amazing, spectacular turns that I've ever played. The deck is just so incredibly fun to play. There's so many weird, intricate lines, which some of them I messed up sometimes, but with like the surveilling to find more doppelgangs, and then you copy the crime lands, and then sometimes you copy like double-layered archway with the splunky and make a ton of mana and bounce everything and put it all back. It's like such an amazing deck. It's just like so incredibly fun and cool to play, and it actually works. So I gotta say, I think this deck is actually kind of good. If the deck has one weakness, I would say 1.5 weaknesses. So the one big weakness of the deck is it is kind of rough against dedicated aggro. If our opponent just like curves out with little red creatures, we're probably not going to be fast enough to do our thing before they kill us. The other like half weakness is control decks that just like sit on a million counter spells. The thing is, I think both of these issues are pretty easily fixable. Not in Simic, but I think the future of this deck is going into 3 colors. So my first impulse was splash into white, and then you play Sunfall as a sweeper to deal with aggro, but then I thought more about it, and I think it might actually be better as a Sultai deck. If we go into Sultai, we can play Deadly Cover-Up as a Wrath, we can play Path of Peril as a Wrath, and then we can also play Duress in the sideboard to deal with our opponent's counter spells against control decks. So I think that a not quite as budget, but probably still pretty cheap because of the Desert Mana base, version of this deck splashing into Sultai as a non-budget build would probably be really, really strong. Like, this build is already really, really strong, but I think Sultai would solve the deck's like 1.5 kind of issues that you run into. But all around, the deck's amazing. Like, you saw it throughout our games. Like, the combo turns are so cool. It's like just such a sweet, sweet deck. So that's Simic Burn. That's Better Budget Magic for this week. If you're looking for something super cheap to play in paper or on Arena or on Moto in Outlaws of Thunder Junction Standard, give the deck a try. It's like so cheap and it's so much fun. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Looking for even more magic? Well, check out last week's Budget Magic, where we plotted some slick shot show-offs, or maybe the new Standard Land Destruction deck from Much Brew.